Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And this is The Passing of the Sorcerer by Manly P. Hall, an article taken from The All-Seeing Eye, Volume 5, Number 4, January 1931. The Passing of the Sorcerer by Manly P. Hall. The facts concerning the death of Rasputin are too well known to require restatement in this article. Our consideration then is to place a new emphasis upon these dramatic incidents. That Rasputin was a hypnotist cannot be denied. He was repeatedly accused of employing infernal agencies to achieve his ends. The word infernal is generally applied by the Church to all forms of magic except where such works are performed by the clergy when the term divine is substituted. Gregory was a believer in magic, an adept in charms and incantations. Tracts were circulated to the effect that this mysterious starets had sold his soul to Satan, and that he had studied the sorcery of the lamas. Rasputin further possessed the power of prophecy. This is proved on not less than 2 counts. He stated definitely that if an evil befell him, the Russian crown was doomed. He predicted that within 6 months of his own death, the empire would fall, and history reveals the accuracy of his predictions. Rasputin felt his own life to be inextricably linked with that of the imperial Russian house. This mysterious peasant also, curiously enough, sensed his own doom. For the very night that he set out on his last earthly adventure, he made the very odd remark that where he was going that night, no one would follow him. That Rasputin accomplished wonders with the young Tsarevich is well authenticated. The efforts made by his detractors to explain away his supernatural powers by declaring that he caused the young prince to be poisoned so that he could administer an antidote is a rather clumsy effort to evade facts. The Tsarevich was an invalid from birth, having inherited the disease of the Habsburg family. A Tibetan magician, for many years the confidant of the Tsar, concentrated all his learning upon the healing of the young heir apparent. His efforts failed, however, and until the coming of Rasputin, the royal family was continually in a frantic state over the child's health. To affirm that Rasputin prepared this stage would be equal to asserting that he had deflected the laws of heredity. Nor were his healings limited to this one case alone, but distributed at various intervals throughout his astonishing career. As he sat facing Prince Yusupov, eating poisoned cake and drinking poisoned wine, his executioner had the terrible conviction that Rasputin knew what was being done to him, but depended upon some tremendous power within himself to escape death. Whatever this power was, it was nearly sufficient. Rasputin proved that the deadliest poison could not destroy him. A world which dreads to admit the supernatural has tried to explain away this mystery also, but in vain. The cake and the wine contained sufficient poison to have instantly killed a score of men, yet after partaking heartily of both, Gregory rose to his feet and in his usual jovial mood began a leisurely examination of the pictures and objects of art about the banquet room of his host. One can well imagine the consternation, amazement, and terror that these circumstances must have created within the nature of Prince Yusupov. Was this man indeed supernatural? Was he, as he had claimed, a divine incarnation? Was he a minister of God or the servant of Satan? The last act of the tragedy finally came. The poison having failed, a group of conspirators who had gathered for such an emergency came to the assistance of the prince, riddling the body of the monk with bullets and slashing him with their knives. They bound Rasputin and dragged him through the snow to the river, into which they threw his still living body. Later it was declared that the body had been recovered and was given private burial by the Tsar and his immediate family. Then came the revolution. Records of all kinds were destroyed or perverted to serve propagandists of the new regime. The Tsar himself vanished, and his fate is still shrouded with mystery. The result is, to sum up the opinions of his biographers, that authentic information concerning Rasputin is one of the most difficult things in the world to secure. Dead but 14 years, his personality is one of the greatest enigmas of all times. Figures like that of Rasputin terrify this prosaic century. We are afraid to think in terms of sorcery. In this very matter-of-fact world which we have attempted to mold into conformity with our own matter-of-fact dispositions, there is no place for the bizarre Rasputin. We turn even viciously against anyone who by word or act attacks the smug sufficiency of our explanations for everything. Rasputin had to be destroyed. The world demanded it. If he had not been removed, he might have hazarded the integrity of our materialistic code. We must explain away the supernatural in self-defense. We dare not admit the existence of any force in nature more subtle than economics or more powerful than gold. Even God must be eliminated lest he compromise the utter superiority of man. When, as will happen sometimes, the miraculous takes flesh and walks among us, our discomfiture knows no bounds. We scoff as long as we can. When that fails, we persecute, and as a last extremity, we ignore. For these reasons, we shall probably never understand the true nature of Rasputin. We seek safety behind the sweeping assertion that he was simply an impostor, a charlatan, and a quack. Having delivered ourselves of these opinions, we feel safe again, turn over on the other side, and continue our interrupted slumber of the ages. At this writing, there comes to hand an interesting example of this attitude. The London Daily Express of November 15th writes that a ghostly apparition of a man in armor floating over the heads of the dancers in the Covent Garden Opera House last night brought the music to an abrupt halt while the conductor, Herman Derevsky, sank into a chair and dropped his baton. Derevsky said that he feared the apparition was an omen of disaster, adding that it was a helmeted and armed figure moving slowly through the air. So much for the account. A few days later comes the explanation, so simple that it is positively asinine. We are informed that the helmeted and armed figure moving through the air was a night watchman or some other equally insignificant person wearing a fireman's helmet. For the latter peculiarity, no explanation is given, nor are we told how the figure chanced to be floating through the air. Herman Derevsky, it seems, did not know a night watchman when he saw one and collapsed at the sight of a caretaker indiscreetly floating overhead during the dance. The further explanation was given that he only saw the shadow of the night watchman. In fact, this latter personality is exceedingly attenuated, there being no proof that he was there at all. The whole thing may be summed up in this thought: we must explain away everything that we do not understand. The explanations do not have to be good because the average individual does not think anyway. The toast of the age is, to our opinions. May they ever be right. But whether they be right or wrong, gentlemen, our opinions. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.